Trust your instincts and leap. Oh boy, that's a pretty good mantra, pretty good thing to think about. What a deep and interesting person you are, and question that is. So nice to see you. What's your name? Sammy what?
Circus.
Sammy Circus?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Sammy Circus. I wish my name was Sammy Circus. I would have been a lot further along than I am now.
No relation to Andy. Hello, Jeff Goldblum.
Hi, Sammy.
What an honor it is to be chatting with you today.
It's a greater honor for me.
And about one of my favorite stories of all time, Wicked.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too. How do you know it? What'd you do? Did you read the book or did you see it on stage? What happened?
I saw the original Broadway production of Wicked when I was 8 years old with Idina Menzel, and it changed my life.
We might have sat next to each other. I was there in that first Broadway run. I saw Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. I knew her a little bit, and I went backstage after and said, and I was still weepy by the time I went up to a couple of flights and said, "Oh, Kristen, oh, I loved it so much." And I met Idina, oh my gosh, I was crazy about it.
It was just amazing. I listened to the Wicked soundtrack religiously at that age and really developed my vocabulary, actually. It was the best vocab lesson. I can't hear the word elixir without thinking of Wicked. Do you have a favorite word or phrase from Wicked or from the movie itself?
Good question. Well, I think, where'd they get it? From the book or from Winnie Holtzman, who wrote the book to the play, or Stephen Schwartz? I like how those characters, they have a little phraseology and a vocabulary that you need a little glossary for, but it's all this pronunciation and all this stuff. All those are hilarious. I love all those, but the couple of phrases right now, this keeps evolving, but that kind of stick in my mind are, I think Elphaba says them, trust your instincts and leap. Oh boy, that's a pretty good mantra, pretty good thing to think about. And hey, how about somebody else says, or does she say it? The sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. I like that. I mean, we know that phrase from before, but the way it resonates in this show and stories just kills me. I love it.
You're famously known, if it's okay, for your unique and infectious charisma. Or to quote the musical, unusual and exceedingly peculiar and altogether quite impossible to describe. What are some quirks that you wanted to bring to the Wizard when you were developing that character?
Well, let me see. Well, I hardly had to search high and low to make it a little different. There was a whole team to try to do that. Jon M, who I think the world of. I love his movies, and I loved working with him on this. The way he envisioned this incarnation of the wizard character was fresh and new, and included a whole workshop that you get to see and kind of live in and see me work out of, where you gather that I'm a big inventor, that I really do, like Nikola Tesla or something, have been a part in this alternate adjacent universe, inventing something like the 20th century. I really am on fire with all this stuff. So that was a little different and interesting and unusual. And then, well, the music. Well, I worked hard on the music, and I like music. I'm a humble student of music myself, and my friend Alex Frank, who's in my band, worked with me on the songs, and we tried to, fit them to my abilities, such as they are, and my voice. And then Christopher Scott, who's the choreographer, but more than that, on this movie, and has worked in collaboration with Jon M on other things. We worked in a rehearsal room hard before to kind of find some movements and things in these couple of numbers I have that were interesting and fit me, and so, all that. Nice, good team.
If I can get existential with you for a moment.
You certainly can.
You've often spoken about our greater place in the universe. So I'm wondering, what does it mean for you cosmically to exist at the same time as the Wicked movie?
What a deep and interesting person you are, and question that is. Well, what does it mean to me to exist at the same time as this show Wicked? Well, it's lucky. I often think that, I wanted to be an actor in the worst way, but if I'd been born, if you pulled one thread out of the time-space continuum and I had wound up in another part of the universe, or in a different universe, or in a different country at another time, I might never have gotten the chance to talk to you or do any of these things. It's probably very particular to the exact moment that I happen to be here and place. And I guess that goes for all of us. So I think it means that whatever is surrounding us is perfect somehow, is somehow right. If we could only understand the big, high angle, high altitude picture, it's somehow perfect. And I like to say sometimes that we're right on schedule. The moment at which we find ourselves, which is now, is somehow also perfect. And if I needed any further evidence of that, I wouldn't have any further to look than the fact that Wicked, the show, is right here for me to see and now to be part of. That really feels perfect.
That's really beautiful. And this is not your first time playing this sort of ringmaster character. We know you as the Grandmaster in the Marvel Universe and as Zeus in the upcoming series Chaos on Netflix. What is it about portraying these powerful, larger-than-life characters that excites you?
Thank you, Sammy. That's an interesting question. Well, you're right. Some of these things that I've done in the somewhat recent and even more recent past have been lucky opportunities and not entirely unrelated, like you say. I guess you could see a thread going between, Grandmaster and even Zeus and Wizard of Oz. Yes, they seem that they could be theatrical or big in some way. I guess one answer is that I've tried to bring all of them into a world of accessible humanism and humanity and naturalism and seeming spontaneity.
Well, I have no doubt that Wicked will transport everyone to the world that is Oz, one that I've loved my whole life.
Me too. You're so kind. I hope it's everything you want it to be, and that you're delighted by it.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. This was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely for me. Thanks, Sammy. Appreciate it.
Hey, Sammy.
Hi. Hi, Jon. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here.
I couldn't be more thrilled to chat with you about Wicked. I have to start by telling you how much the story means to me. I grew up in a Wizard of Oz supremacy household. My mom read L. Frank Baum's original book to me as a baby, and I had the ultimate pleasure of seeing the original Broadway production when I was 8 years old with Idina Menzel.
Lucky
I just
you.
have to, I was very lucky. It was actually the show that she broke her ribs. It was a very memorable event. But I have to ask, what is your relationship to this story?
Well, I saw it before it went on Broadway when they were workshopping it in San Francisco. And so I have a very close, this was like, oh, this is the new Stephen Schwartz musical. Like, come check it out. And I went with my mom, and we were at the theater, the Current Theater in San Francisco. And it just blew me away. Someone who was studying film at that moment, and someone who loves musicals, watched it, and I was like, this is the most cinematic musical on stage I've ever seen. Never in a million years did I think I would get the opportunity to actually do the translation, and it has been a dream ever since.
Well, it's a story that we've known for decades almost at this point, one about friendship, discrimination, determination, good versus evil. What was your vision in bringing this story to life with so many relevant themes to both new audiences and lifelong fans?
Well, like you, L. Frank Baum had such a huge influence on my life of The Wizard of Oz. My parents loved The Wizard of Oz, coming to America to have this sort of American fairy tale about the yellow brick road and the wizard that will grant your heart's desire. So for me, it's the ability of sort of a new generation to look at that story, to look at this fairy tale and flip it and see it from a new perspective is really interesting to me. It's what I've been going through in my own journey as a storyteller. And what does a hero look like? What do we think a villain looks like? And is that really a villain? And how does, what does a yellow brick road actually mean to us? And so for me, it was digging into those things that were, that actually Stephen and Winnie, who created the original musical, they were very prophetic in what they were talking about. Things like about truth and something has changed within me, something that's not the same. It's something that I was feeling right after the lockdown and pandemic, and I think all of us were feeling. And so this is an opportunity to not just have a giant spectacle, of course, and to revisit the land of Oz, which for moviegoers is like, you know, the iconic place that we revisit every so often, and for our generation to have a place in that. But deep down, to tell this true emotional tale of someone who feels different, of both women who feel different, and their relationship, and how hard it is for change, how uncomfortable that is, and how even when you outgrow a relationship, that it doesn't mean they're gone. It just means that they may not be right there, but that they always stay with you. So all those things, we really, a movie gets to be that close. We get to go 2 inches, which on a stage you can't do. So we really try to take advantage of that and immerse the audience in a experience that when you go to the theater and you sit in the dark with strangers, you're gonna feel that you went to some other place that only leads you home.
I love that. That's really beautiful, and I can't wait to sit in that theater as well. I can think of some truly incredible definition movie magic moments that you've directed. I think of the card passing scene in Now You See Me Too,
Yes,
the
thank you.
96,000 pool number and In the
Yes.
Heights. Is there a scene in Wicked that was particularly complicated to pull off?
Every scene in Wicked is particularly complicated. That said, Popular has some really fun things in it that I won't spoil right now, but you know, you're in a room, you're in a dorm room. Like, how do you play like many scenes in this dorm room, make it believable that's a dorm room? I mean, it's a suite, but still, and then do a musical number within it. And we had a lot of fun creating things to make it exciting and see that room in different ways. But of course, Defying Gravity is like the showstopper. It's the song that has stayed with me for all these years. And to see Cynthia Erivo singing live on wires, that you won't see the wires, don't worry, and being lifted physically in the air higher than any theater could have done, it is extraordinary. And for her acting and her soul of alphabet that she's created to come through those words, I think you'll see this song, even though you've heard it many times, in a way that you've never experienced it before. And you put on top of that the VFX that create the wind, the thing, and then you're in a theater. I mean, come on, get out of here.
Well, speaking of VFX, you strike me as a gearhead, knowing that you grew up in the Silicon Valley and kind of had a front row seat to the industry evolving around you. Was there a piece of technology that you were really excited to use or have in the production of Wicked?
You know, this was an interesting one because I don't know if I'm a gearhead. Technology has helped me throughout my years of a storyteller. Give me a little head start on things, and it helps me communicate what's in my head and get it onto so that creative hands, human hands, can get in there and really make stuff. And I think that's what was this for this one. Like, we built stuff. I almost went the opposite. Of course, it requires CG monkeys, and there's certain extensions, and we have a whole team that is great. But the integration of actually building a real wizard head that is 20 feet tall and actually moves in real time to when you speak, to have a real train that's 16 tons, to plant 9 million tulips, to have barley on a huge field. That physicality of Munchkinland and Emerald City, you can't beat that. And that was not technology. Some technology maybe in design and how you actually craft that and the craftsmanship of it. But we went really physical on this one, and that's exciting. It's different for me in that way.
I love that. And this is not your first musical to film adaptation. We know you directed In the Heights, and I also believe you're bringing Crazy Rich Asians to Broadway.
I am, yes.
What do you think makes for the best movie musical?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, everyone has their own way into a musical. I love musicals because music speaks so deeply beyond just dialogue. Melodies, certain notes evoke something in you, even a holding of a note. So it just gives more layers to how you communicate a moment or an emotion coming from a character or coming from outside the character towards them. So for me, the best version of a musical is one where it doesn't feel like it breaks into song, that the song is a part of the actor's ability to express. It's as a part of them as their eyebrows. And you have to have people who are able to express in that way and as seamlessly as that, which is why Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are amazing to be able to handle that. I almost never talked about, hey, and then in this musical, we talked about it as scenes. And so for me, musicals that just come in and out and the music is just a part of it, you almost don't know it's a musical, even though there's big numbers, are the ones that resonate the most for me, because I think that's the power. That's why you go to movement or vocals, because words may not just be enough to express.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you
meeting
so
Sam.
much. Bye.